Hello, everyone. Welcome to T7 Digital. My name is Anna, and today I have the pleasure of speaking with Rebecca Brown, the USA Director of Tobacco-Free Portfolios. Welcome, Rebecca.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being with us. So before we get started today, Rebecca, would you like to say a couple of words about your work and about tobacco-free portfolios?
Sure, yeah. I'm the US Director of Tobacco-Free Portfolios. We're an advocacy organization that partners with the financial sector and provides it with support and information as they go through their journey to exclude tobacco from their lines of business, including investing, insuring, and lending.
Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction. So, Rebecca, today we wanted to talk about tobacco-free finance and what kind of role it plays, especially for asset managers and how it contributes to their net zero commitment. So to kick things off, I wanted to ask you, why is the excluding tobacco unique from other industries?
Right, so that's a good question. We ask ourselves three questions when it comes to justification or exclusion with regards to tobacco. One, does the company make a product that is safe to use? And the answer when it comes to tobacco is no. There is zero safe use of tobacco products. The other question is the problem of such a scale that there is a global treaty to address it? And the answer is yes. There is a UN global treaty on tobacco control, which explicitly recommends non-engagement with big tobacco. So that leaves us with what are our tools? And we cannot use impact investing or thematic investing when it comes to big tobacco. As an example, tobacco negatively impacts 14 of the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals. When it comes to best in sector, that's just like company to like company. So if you have a good diverse board or you offer good employee benefits, you can receive an absolute score that's quite high. And that doesn't take into account that these companies make products that when used as intended can kill upwards of 50% of its consumers, which is inherently unsustainable. So when it comes to tobacco specifically, exclusion truly is the only way to create any change.
Thank you very much for that. And absolutely, totally agree with you. I wanted to kind of link this with our theme, more so thinking about, in light of recent net zero commitments, how can tobacco-free finance play a part in achieving those goals?
That's a great question, and one that folks aren't always familiar with. So tobacco production globally is responsible for 5% of deforestation in low and middle income countries. The manufacturing of tobacco also has a tremendous amount of greenhouse gas impact, oftentimes emitting more than entire countries, such as Israel or Peru. And importantly, and you'll never not see this now, tobacco filters, 2/3 of tobacco filters are disposed of irresponsibly. And what I mean by that is thrown on the street, thrown in a stream. And tobacco filters are actually made of plastic. They take time to sort of decompose. As they do so, they leach chemicals into the environment. It's important to note that tobacco filters by number are the #1 contributor to ocean plastic. So as they degrade, they turn into microplastics and get into the food chain, obviously through marine life consuming those. So there's a tremendous amount of environmental impact that is caused by big tobacco. We all know that the use of tobacco products can cause illness, right? But oftentimes what is enlightening is just this tremendous environmental impact. And with the vast amounts of commitment towards net zero, which occurred at COP26 last fall, excluding tobacco from your portfolio is truly a meaningful step towards achieving those net zero commitments.
Absolutely. I find it really fascinating, and some of the things that you talked about, I didn't even know. And I wonder if our viewers knew, so it's really good that you shine some light onto those. And thinking about our viewers who are mostly from the asset management and investment community, I was thinking, what are some of the facts that you discuss with the financial sector that could come as a great surprise to people?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So again, tobacco-free portfolios is truly here to partner with the financial sector. So to your point, this is information that is oftentimes very enlightening as we engage with the financial community. Aside from the tremendous human toll, which, as an example, we're crawling out of this horrific pandemic, but 8 million lives are lost annually to tobacco-related illnesses globally. And it is estimated we're on track for 1 billion lives to be lost this century from tobacco-related illnesses. The other thing that is oftentimes surprising is when we discuss, the transition narrative and big tobacco's approach to what gets said in first world countries versus what they do in low and middle income countries. These are very intelligent organizations, and the narrative of, going smoke-free or turning into a health and wellness company is entirely rejected by the healthcare community. And as an example, as one tobacco company does something or says they're doing something in a first world country to sort of align with these sustainability metrics, in low and middle income countries, they continue to push the use of combustible cigarettes and push against regulation and taxation, which of course impacts their bottom line.
So I was really wondering around our audience, and we have a lot of asset managers who watch these interviews that we are doing. We want to offer them a bit of guidance and information. So I was wondering if an asset manager wanted to kind of start looking at going tobacco free, what would be the sort of first steps that they can take?
The first step would be to contact me at tobaccofreeportfolios.org. So we partner with the financial sector to put the tools in the toolbox. When we're talking about excluding tobacco from a portfolio, especially in the public space, it's truly a handful of companies that are responsible for all of sort of the global devastation caused by the use of tobacco products. So that's number one. Number two is, if you take a look at the total return of these stocks versus, as an example, the S&P, tremendous underperformance over the past 5 years. And you can argue, tech has led the S&P, or it's a business cycle, but the numbers sort of speak for themselves. If you take a look at the S&P versus the tobacco stocks in the S&P over the past 10 years, tremendous underperformance. So when it comes to fiduciary duty, adding alpha for your client portfolios, aside from the reputational risk, the litigation risk, the environmental risk, the supply chain risk, we didn't talk about the fact that there's child labor throughout the supply chain in tobacco production. There's so many more opportunities out there which will provide better risk-adjusted returns for your client base without all of these sort of secular headwinds that are just increasing, especially with, Europe is really kind of ahead of the game when it comes to ESG. That's nothing new. However, the US specifically is a tremendous market, and there's been, over the past 5 years, an enormous push towards really embracing sustainability as part of the overall investment decision-making process. And tobacco just doesn't sit in that sort of a framework. So baby steps, it's a handful of companies, and we're here to be supportive and assist.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, for having this conversation with us. I hope it kind of, opens people's minds and gets them thinking about going tobacco free, because obviously it's such an important thing to do for our society. And we look forward to seeing you at our future events this year, where people can talk to you directly about this. And really, thank you so much for joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.